This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by our friends over at Cova Software, the #1 dispensary point-of-sale system in North America, with an average of nearly 100 new dispensary clients opening their doors every month. Some of the biggest retail brands and most remote cannabis stores in the US and Canada count on Cova. Swing over to covasoftware.com today to see why. That's covasoftware.com with Cova spelled C-O-V-A. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Thursday, March 18th, 2021, and you're tuned in to episode 1033 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. Kyle Yeager, as he so often does, starts off the news day with a big pickup out of Washington, D.C., where it appears that the Secure and Fair Enforcement Banking Act, otherwise known as the Safe Banking Act, will be reintroduced today in Congress. Regular listeners should well remember that the Safe Banking Act removes federal restrictions on banks and financial institutions from doing business with state legal marijuana. The Safe Banking Act was passed last year by the House, but was killed upon arrival in the Senate by Republican obstructionist Senator Mitch McConnell. Kyle is reporting that numerous sources in D.C. are saying that today is the day when the Safe Banking Act will be reintroduced. Assuming it's passed by the House again, which it likely will, it will then head over to be deliberated on by a democratically controlled Senate, where it should also pass. So we could see this bit of groundbreaking legislation actually become law this year. Keep your eye on this storyline and maybe head over to Marijuana Moment for the full read. There are a lot of details and whatnot to absorb. Ben Adlin, a new regular on our weekly show Marijuana Today, has a good bit of late-breaking news out of New Mexico, where late last night, the Senate Judiciary Committee voted 5-4 in favor of adult-use marijuana legalization, HB 12, sending the bill on to the entire Senate for a vote. As Ben is reporting, this is particularly big news because the Judiciary Committee was considered to be the toughest committee for legalization to pass through. And because Saturday at noon is the very latest that legislation can be sent to the desk of Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham. HB 12 has already been approved by the House, so this final pass through the Senate is the last legislative hurdle for adult use legalization in New Mexico. If made into law, HB 12 would set up a taxed and regulated sales program with Homegrow and a social equity program, with sales to start on March 1st of next year. With the top 3 twofer on the day, Ben has another good story checking back in on how things are going in New York State for legal cannabis. We've been closely tracking this storyline with all kinds of signs out of New York in recent days, indicating that a legalization deal could be announced at any time. Ben's update has New York Senator and Majority Leader Chuck Schumer again sharing his thoughts on cannabis and how legalization is developing. Specifically, Senator Schumer thanked New York Assembly Majority Leader Crystal Peoples-Stokes and Senator Liz Krueger for their work on the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act, or MRTA plan, which would set up a taxed and regulated adult use program. We reported recently that that plan is competing with a proposal being pushed by embattled Governor Andrew Cuomo, who stands accused by numerous women of sexual harassment, but who has as of yet refused to resign. This is big news not only for New York, where adult use legalization is long overdue, but also for the country at large, where the support of Senator Schumer will be needed to throw off federal prohibition once and for all. Those are the top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz in headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, Cova Software, the #1 dispensary point-of-sale system in North America, with an average of nearly 100 new dispensary clients opening their doors every month. Some of the biggest retail brands and most remote cannabis stores in the US and Canada count on Cova. Cova Software is easy to use and is fully compliant with all the right rules and regulations, so you can be assured that you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's. One of the things that dispensary owners really like about Cova Software, especially in today's fast-moving industry, is its ability to scale. because it's a great piece of software no matter if you're using it in one store or 100. That makes your life easier as a business owner because you don't have to worry about the hassles of transitioning from one point of sale system to another as you grow. And because Cova software is so easy to use, you and your staff will spend a lot less time learning how to use it. Pop over to covasoftware.com with Cova spelled C-O-V-A to learn about these and all the other benefits of being a Cova client. That's covasoftware.com. All right, time for the Blitz. Montana Governor Greg Gianforte, who you should remember as the violent thug who once physically assaulted a reporter before then being elected by the Republican Party to a House seat, just released his plans to legalize adult-use marijuana as called for by voters in the fall. The governor's conservative plan, which was introduced as a proposed bill by Republican State Representative Mike Hopkins, would ban Homegrow, set a 35% THC cap on cannabis flower, force towns to opt in to allow legal cannabis, and would entirely ban all logos and advertising from and for cannabis products. It's certainly better than outright prohibition, but not that much better. If you're in Montana, you should give this one a full read. A credit union in Michigan is in a little bit of financial hot water after receiving a cease and desist order from the National Credit Union Administration, an administrative federal agency, for its handling of marijuana business customers. The Live Life Federal Credit Union was warned that it was not fully in compliance with all banking rules and regulations pertaining to its roughly 150 cannabis customers and agreed to a number of immediate measures, including halting the processing of any new accounts. This is a solid example of why we need federal banking reform. Diverting over quickly to the world of psychedelics, we have Field Trip Health Limited announcing the closing of a round of funding that brought in $76.4 million. The company, which is working on therapeutic psychedelic treatments, issued a touch over 14.6 million shares at $5.32 a share, with the round led by Solus Capital, with participation from Avidity Partners, Sphera Funds, Pura Vida Investments, and Jennison Associates. As reported by New Cannabis Ventures, Field Trip now has a touch over $90 million in cash and cash equivalents on hand, so I'd mark this as a company to watch. With the first of two financial stories, we have Canadian company Sundial releasing its full year and Q4 results for 2020, with fourth quarter net revenue of $13.8 million, a net loss of $64 million, and a negative adjusted EBITDA of $5.6 million. That capped off a 2020 that had Sundial pulling net revenues for the year of $60.9 million, a net loss of $239 million, and a negative adjusted EBITDA of $20.5 million. Pop over to New Cannabis Ventures for more details and numbers here. American multi-state cannabis operator Green Thumb Industries, or GTI, has our second set of financials, with it also releasing its Q4 and full year results for the period ending December 31st. For the fourth quarter last year, GTI pulled in revenue of $177.2 million, up 134% annually, with a positive net income of $22.5 million. For the full year, GTI saw its revenue jump 157% from 2019 to just over $556 million, sitting on top of a positive net income of $15 million. The company GrowGen Corp just announced its seventh acquisition so far on the year with the purchase of New England-based hydroponic retailer Aquarius Hydroponics, which has a 14,000 square foot retail center in Agawam, Massachusetts. With this latest deal, GrowGen now has a total of 52 stores operating in 12 U.S. states. We turn to New Hampshire for our final headline today, where a proposed bill to allow medical marijuana patients to grow cannabis at home is being considered by a Senate committee. Senate Bill 350 would allow patients of age the right to grow up to 6 plants at home and was passed last month with approval by the full House. There have been a number of attempts to pass legal homegrow legislation in New Hampshire, but one of the things that is new this year is that the state's 3 medical marijuana providers are officially on board in support. And yesterday, each of the 3 companies had representatives testify to that fact. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Kova Software, and to our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says, Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with Marijuana Today. Today.
One take, Shay. One take.